Let's start a new project, and this project is going to be on an assembly line. It can be a manufacturing assembly line, it can be supply assembly line, it can be any assembly line that you can think of. I'll be considering it as a manufacturing assembly line to do the project. And we have already used multiple databases by now. I'm not going to use multiple databases here, but the API or the entire project will be a little complex in implementation. So first, let's understand what assembly line is and what it does, because we need to understand the business requirement just like previous use cases. So what an assembly line does, assembly line takes in raw material and generates finished good or finished product. For example, let's say I have to create a car. Assembly line would take raw materials like aluminum, steel, plastic, etc. It will take electricity, software products, and then it will eventually create a finished car which is ready to roll. The assembly line of any manufacturing company is not that simple. It's pretty complex, but I'll try to simplify it as much as possible. We have raw material and we need the finished good or the finished product. Obviously, you need a lot of worker to work on it. So that's what workers are. There can be one or more workers, there can be hundreds of workers in a manufacturing plant, and along with the workers would also need machines, because you cannot do any work without the machine. And in an assembly line, what happens is that there would be multiple workstations, and each workstation would be assigned individual work. Let's take the example of car manufacturing. One workstation would be dedicated for engine assembly, another workstation would be dedicated for painting, another workstation would be dedicated for accessories fitment, another workstation would be dedicated for door assembly, etc. There can be different workstations in the assembly line. There are actually hundreds of workstations in an assembly line. I'm showing you only few. So these are the main three components that we are going to take in this particular project. So you have raw material, you have finished product, and what would happen is that we need a finished product, and we'll use workstations, and workstations would be assigned to individual workers, and workers will use a machine to create the finished product. But of course, at the center of it would be the assembly line. The purpose of the assembly line is to take raw material as the input and generate the finished product or the finished good. And it might be pretty obvious that a single assembly line will not use all the workstations. There can be thousands of workstations in a particular manufacturing plant. So only a few workstations would be assigned to a single assembly line. And so would be the workers. There can be thousands of workers, but not all workers would be assigned to the assembly line. Only a few workers would be assigned to a single assembly line, and so would be the machines. This is what an assembly line is at a very high level. Of course, it is way more oversimplification of what an assembly line looks like, but I hope you get the idea. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the APIs. What would happen is that the manufacturing plant would create an assembly line, and then they would assign raw materials, they would assign a product ID, workers to it, to the assembly line. It would assign machines to the assembly line, workstations, etc. So let's take a look at it in API view. First, of course, the first API would be the create assembly line, which would create a new assembly line. So let's say I have to create 100 quantities of BMW car, then one assembly line would be created for 100 BMW cars. Let's say it is BMW X1. And in this assembly line, the plant wants to manufacture 100 BMW X1 cars. Now, what would happen once you create the assembly line? It would update something called a workstation. So it will get the workstation whichever is available. So a particular workstation would be assigned to the assembly line, and the API would actually make a call to the workstation table which is there in the database. And once it gets an available workstation, it will make the workstation not available, because this workstation would be assigned to the assembly line which was created by this API. Okay, now once this is done, once the workstation is acquired, the update workstation API would make a call to another API, which is update worker. Of course, a workstation cannot be empty. There has to be multiple workers associated with a single workstation. So that is the purpose of this API. But this API will not handle it. It would offload the assignment of workers to the update worker API. So this API would make a call to the worker table and get an available worker. So whichever worker that belong to that particular category is available, that worker would be assigned to the workstation and the assembly line. Once the worker is made available, the same worker would obviously be marked as non-available so that no other workstation can assign him or assign her. So once this is done, the response would be sent to the update workstation API, and then eventually update workstation API would send the response back to create assembly line. Now if you see here, the create assembly line would make a call to this API, which will make a call to the database and make some updates. And after the updates are done, it will make a call to another API. This API would make some call to the database and make some updates. Then it would return a response. And so the call to the update workstation and update worker by create assembly line is synchronous, meaning that both have to be completed for create assembly line to be complete. So if only update workstation is complete, that does not mean that the assembly line has been created. Only when the worker is associated with the workstation, then only it would be considered as complete. There are a lot of other complex concepts here. For example, transactions, extended architecture, etc., which I'm not going to discuss anyway. I do not want to complicate it further, as we are not creating a full-fledged application per se. That's why I'll not discuss the concept of transactions or extended architecture or two-phase commit for that matter. But what would happen is that the API should use extended architecture so that if any one of the APIs fail, both of them should roll back. That's how the coding should be, but I'll not be showing you that. We are just bothered about making a call to the API and the synchronization between the APIs. Alright, so once it is done, what this API would do, it would make call to another API, which is update machine, because the workstation would also need machines. The workstation can have multiple machines associated or attached to it. So create assembly line would make a call, and this would again assign machine to the workstation and then return the response back. Once the response is received, then it would make an entry in the production log table, which would log the progress of the assembly line. Now let's say the assembly line is complete, then this API would be called, which is complete assembly line. What it would do, it would make an entry to the product table. It would update that the product has been created, the ID of the product, the name of the product, and the quantity. Once it updates the product table, then it would go ahead and update the production log table. And once the production log table is updated, it would go and update the workstation, which will make the workstation available again. Same would be the case with worker. It would make the worker available again. And finally, it would update the machine, which would make the machine detached from the workstation. You might imagine that there would be one more API, which would be check progress assembly line, and that would continuously update the workstation, update the worker, and update the machine. I'm not showing you that. You can go ahead and implement that. So that would be your exercise to add an update or check progress of the assembly line. That would be another API which you would create and then implement in this workflow. Okay, now the question is, who would make the call to assembly line? We'll use our favorite Postman tool. But what happens in an assembly line, there would be a lot of screens and there would be a lot of devices, and devices would be there with the workers, and the workers would periodically make updates using the devices. Let's say a particular work is done, then the worker would update in the device, and that device would make an API call which would update these tables, etc. Again, as I'm saying, this is a very simple version of manufacturing assembly line, but here what will I be doing? We'll be creating multiple APIs which would be synchronous, and will make sure that this API gets completed only when all the APIs are done. So one API would call another API, or one function would call another function, and that function would update database, so on and so forth. So there are two URL endpoints or two APIs that would be using, which would do pretty complex stuff. And as you can see, these three APIs like update workstation, update worker, and update machine, these are common. And you should use these APIs for your check progress assembly line functionality also, to implement your check progress assembly line functionality. What you would do, you would add one more API here, which would keep on checking the progress. It will check the progress of the workstation, the work, and the machine. And once it is done, using that check progress, you would update the production log. Let's try to understand the flow of the program for the component that I'll be implementing in this particular project, which is the create assembly line. What would happen is that I'll have this API create assembly line, and whenever this API is called, it will be called with a parameter or an argument called bay ID. So what is this bay ID? Typically what happens is that in manufacturing factories, the workstations are divided across bays. So let's say bay ID 1 would contain 10 workstations, bay ID 2 might contain 20 workstations, and so on. The workstation tables contain bay ID and multiple workstations for the same bay ID. So we'll pass that bay ID, and then along with the bay ID, we'll call this update workstation API. And using this ws underscore bay underscore ID, we will select the workstation ID and its next workstation ID. These are the two columns in the workstation table. And here, what we are trying to find, we're trying to find the available workstation for this particular bay ID that have been passed by the assembly line creator, let's say. Once we get an available workstation ID, we'll use that workstation ID and call the API update worker with the workstation ID as the argument and its corresponding value. So update worker would be called by update workstation API using the WS ID or the workstation ID, which was retrieved using bay ID. After this API is called, update worker will try to find out the worker ID from the worker table, whichever worker is available. And of course, we'll pass the WS ID, and worker ID would be associated with WS ID in the worker table itself. Now, once we get the available worker ID, we'll have to update the worker table again to make the worker unavailable, or to mark the worker unavailable, so that no other assembly line or no other workstation can pick this particular worker. After we get the worker, we'll use the same WS ID to update the workstation and mark it as unavailable. As you can see, the update operation would be performed only when we get a worker ID or an available worker ID from the worker table. When all these two things are done, when the worker ID is retrieved along with the workstation ID, then the same WS ID or the same workstation ID would be used to call another API, which is update machine. And this API would use this workstation ID to select the machine ID that is available and mark it as unavailable for the particular machine ID. And once everything is done, an entry would be made in the assembly line table. Followed by that, another entry would be made in the production log table with workstation ID, worker ID, product ID, start time, and status as the values. And these values would be inserted in the production log table. And using these values, we'll insert a record into the production log table. So this is the component that I'm going to implement right now. Now the question is, how do you start coding for such a complex workflow? Now in this particular component, we have update workstation, update worker, and update machine. So the last API that would be called is the update machine. So I'll be starting from update machine, and then I will work on update worker, then update workstation, and then finally create assembly line. Now this is my approach. Your approach can be completely different. You can start from anywhere you want. You can start from update workstation also, and then update worker, and then work through update machine and then assembly line. Or you can start from the first API, which is create assembly line. And as you already know that I'll be calling this create assembly line API using Postman tool. Let's look at the data first. I have created a new database called assembly line DB, and here I have created multiple tables, and all the table creation commands are there in the project 3 commands sheet. We have this assembly line, machine, product, production log, worker, and workstation. There are no records in assembly line and production log, but there are records in workstation, worker, and machine. Even product table is empty. So assembly line table, product table, and production table, these three tables are empty. I have loaded only workstation, worker, and machine because these are already there in the manufacturing plant, and the old assembly line jobs have been migrated to a different table or have been archived. This is a new assembly line table. So is the case with product and production log. As you can see, worker table has approximately 25,000 rows. Workstation table has 5,000 rows. Machine table has 42,000 rows. Assembly line has no rows at all. So is the case with production log, and the product table is also empty. And I have loaded these tables from the files that I have provided. Now you can think that the number of rows are not that high. I have tried to keep the numbers as genuine as possible because if you think about it, we will not have too many workstations in a manufacturing plant. 5,000 is also a very big number. A typical mega factory might have 5,000 to 10,000 workstations, maybe a little bit more, but a typical manufacturing plant or a manufacturing factory will have somewhere around 2,000 to 5,000 workstations, and number of machines can be higher. I have mentioned only 42,000, but it can go as high as 100,000 also. And the number of workers that I have mentioned, or the number of employees that are working in the manufacturing plant as workers, are 25,000. And this is the project file. We have project 3 assembly line. Inside of this folder, I have complete assembly line py. This is an empty program. Actually, I have not coded anything here. And this is something that you'll have to code as part of your exercise. I'll talk about the exercises at the end of this video, but let's go ahead and look at the other programs. The one that I'm going to implement is the create assembly line. And this create assembly line would call update workstation, update worker, and update machine programs. So these are the 4 programs that I have written. And as you can see, I have this machine data.csv, worker data CSV, and workstation data CSV. These are the files that I have used to load the Aurora tables. And as usual, project 3 underscore commands would contain the SQL commands that are needed to load the tables in Aurora.